Hi, welcome back to episode 30 of Coach Barnabas. My name's Corey. Thanks for joining me today. Just want to take some time with you and share some encouragement with you. It's been a little while since our last episode, so I'm happy to be back with you and share a word with you that was placed in my heart really about 24 hours ago. And spontaneously, I wasn't searching for an opportunity or for a topic or for anything like that, but God just put something on my heart yesterday at church, and I kind of want to share that with you and bring a little more out of what. In fact, I got up in front of my church and shared briefly about something God had put in my heart, and I kind of want to give it a little bit more dimension. I want to share that with you here in this episode. But first, I want to kind of tell you a story, a little bit about my father-in-law. My father-in-law is just an extremely profound character. He is a character. He has tremendous personality. He is now 86 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So he has lived a full life. He has a story for everything. He has millions of stories about things. He also has a lot of different collections, very eclectic background as far as his interests are concerned, and everything from miniature trains to Star Wars to stock cars to Disney to you name it. He just has a lot of different interests, and he collects a lot of things, and including my wife and her brothers. In his home, in the storage area, you might find like some of her old homework from when she was in elementary school, or some of whatever in the boys' homework, or artwork they had done while in school, all kinds of things. He also, because of his vast array of interests, he also has like binders full of maybe newspaper articles, and almost like people used to have scrapbooks. He has binders, things he printed out along the course of his life, of things that were of interest to him. He's got little photo albums everywhere. He's one for nostalgia. But not just, it could be things in history. It could be things that happened in his life, things with his family, just things he found interesting that he cataloged. And, it's funny because, we'll be sitting around, for celebrating somebody's birthday in the family, or just whatever. And, everybody's having conversation, and you might be having a conversation. It just triggers a thought in his mind. He'll disappear for a few minutes, and then he'll come back, and he'll break out this binder that has something to do with a topic that was involved in one of the conversations around one of the tables. And he's, oh, right here, here's you were talking about this, and da da da. And he finds this article about that particular topic that somehow caught his interest. It was actually pretty interesting. But it's fascinating to be around somebody who, just doesn't just remember things, but, it captures attention much to where he kept it, or there's a personal connection to the story that involves himself or somebody around him. This is my cousin, or this is, I met this person, or I saw this person off in a distance, or whatever the case may be, where there's some personal connection to it. So he's a very interesting character that way. Plus, again, he's got a lot of stories, and at some point, I'd like to maybe even introduce you to him. If we can, find a way to do that, that would be fun. I'd like to do that. But I was going back to my experience yesterday. We were in worship, and I just felt, God. Sometimes worship is, we're singing, and the songs are very meaningful to me, and I'm doing that. I'm singing, but sometimes it's also a dialogue. Like during the songs, I feel like God is just speaking to me and personalizing what is happening in the song. Sorry if you can hear, my cat is trying to dig. We bought this new container for their dry food, and it's right underneath his desk. And you might hear some tapping as he's trying to find a way in. Hey, leave it alone. He knows. Anyway, and so sometimes there's just a little dialogue going where God is just placing little thoughts in my head to just personalize and say, this is what your praise means to me, or whatever the case may be. And that was the case yesterday. And oftentimes, that's just between God and me. And I just keep that to myself. And I just receive it as a little love note from God to remind me of what my praise means to him, or something he is just, it's just a personal conversation, a personal dialogue that's just meant between God and me. Sorry, he's clawing away at this thing. Should have closed the door. Anyway, um, but this particular time, and it's happened before, but it's been a while because I feel like I can share my thoughts, with you on the podcast. I don't have to every time I have a thought walk up to the front of the church and grab a microphone and say something. That's intrusive. It's whatever, and it's not about me. But there are times, and yesterday was such a case where God was compelling me to share what He was sharing with me, but to share it with the congregation. So I stepped forward. Unfortunately, I have a good relationship with the leadership of my church. I'm part of the leadership at our church, so it's not just rando guy walking up, grabbing the microphone, and saying something. I don't want you to get that opinion if you're not part of my church. You think anybody just walks up, grabs a mic, and starts saying stuff. It's not that. That would be out of order, and that would be wrong. But I've been there for about 10 years now, and like I said, I've been very active in ministry there over the years, and so I have a certain degree of credibility that I take very seriously. I cherish that, and I protect it. I always want to act in wisdom. So I just say all that so you know where this is coming from. At any rate, I go up, and we're singing a song that part of the lyrics of the song is just simply communicating that I don't have really anything of value for the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I mean, I don't have anything I can give you that's worthy enough of who you are, that's going to impress you, but all I have is basically my worship. And so I'm just going to lift my hands and praise you. That's just all I have right now. And in that moment, I just felt like God dropped this visual imagery of, for those of you who have children, whether they're grown or whether they're young, at some point they've probably come home from school or preschool or Sunday school, whatever, and with some sort of crayon drawing that you may not even be able to recognize. What is this? Is that a salamander? No, that's you. Oh, okay. I had no idea. But something they did, or maybe it was Mother's Day or Father's Day, and it says, I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad, or something like that. Or picture, they drew out little characters that are the family, whatever the case may be. And again, it's not about whether or not we talked about Michelangelo, we talked about Da Vinci, stuff like that. It's not like these are renowned artists. Okay, maybe they have some tremendous skills. Me, I'm an older guy, and if you gave me a box of crayons and told me to draw a picture, it'd probably look a lot like somebody who's in preschool or first grade, whatever, drawing a picture. But the point is, when they do this, you're not looking at the quality of the artwork. You're looking at what's in the heart. They thought of you, and they created this little image and grabbed whatever crayons and drew on it, wrote on it, whatever. And what did that do to your heart to know that they just expressed their love for you in this way? And it just makes your heart just beat out of your chest, right? With just love, and you want to hug them, and what do? You immediately display that thing right on the refrigerator, right? Just boom, and it stays there for a long time. It's not like, I'll leave it there for a week and take it down. It stays there, and because that's just meaningful. It's precious. And I just sensed in that moment as we're singing this song that's what our praise is to God. It doesn't matter how you sound, whether you can sing or not, whether you're on key or not. It doesn't matter. It's what's in your heart that God hears. And it's not about whether or not you're the next great singer. Just like you're not looking at this artwork as like, well, this isn't exactly a masterpiece, right? But in the moment, you took what you had and you tried to make something that was going to please the person you're going to give it to. And so, hey, when you come before God and you say, this is all I have, but I'm going to give it to you, and He's saying, that's all I want. That is precious to me, your Father. And maybe you're somebody today who you think of the prodigal son, right? The prodigal son who had a great relationship with his wealthy father, decided at some point he wanted to go out on his own. and live his life. So he basically asked Dad, "Hey, can I get just cash out my inheritance now? I'm done with this. I want to make a life for myself on my own, and be able to do what I want, when I want, where I want to go, and all this other stuff." So his dad did gave him his inheritance early and let him go. And the kid, as if you know the story, basically squandered it all. It ended up over the course of probably multiple bad decisions in his life. Ended up basically sleeping, in a a pigsty, literal pigsty in the mud with pigs, because that's just all that was available to him to just try to stay warm and safe at night. And so after a period of time, he humbly, I mean, with humiliation, decides his only hope is to come home and just be one of his dad's servants. Just like, you're the only person I know. Can I at least come home and just be one of your servants? Just treat me like one of your workers. Okay. I'm not coming home expecting anything, a place in the house to live, not my old room, none of the benefits. I cashed out. I made some decisions. But if you just would let me be a laborer in your field, I'll be eternally grateful. And his father, restored him completely. Restored him. My son, who I thought was dead, is alive, and it slipped the ring back on his finger, indicating the relationship, and recertifying that relationship they had, and reestablishing his place in the lineage of the family. You're my son. I love you. Welcome home. And all of these things. Maybe you're somebody who just like you made your decisions, and some of them were bad, and you end up far from God, and now you're trying to find your way back, and you're like, God, if you'll just treat me like the lowest person, but just welcome me back. Of course, God's going to say yes. Or maybe you're just somebody who's not feeling it. You were in church yesterday, maybe, and you see people, smiling and celebrating and happy to see each other, and seemingly not a care in the world, but you're carrying the weight of the world. You have things in your life that if people knew, they might treat you differently, or you think they might treat you differently. You think that people will shame you, or not want to be around you, or think differently of you, or pull their kids away from you if they only knew. Maybe you think that your relationship dynamic would change, and they would no longer want to be your friend, or whatever. I mean, guilt and shame is a powerful thing, but it's all our own perception that we place on ourselves. Not that we would do that with anybody else, but we think we deserve that kind of, judgment. And, when we just come to God and say, look, I don't have anything, but I just want to give you what I have. And it's not deserving. This isn't what you deserve from me. You deserve so much more, but this is just all I have. And I'm just going to praise you. Even when I'm not feeling it, even when I'm not in some emotional high and things aren't going great, I'm just here, and I'm just going to give you what I have, as meager and as humble as it is. I'm just going to give it to you. And like my father-in-law, I can just see God saying, just a second, turning and coming back with a book filled with moments where you praised him with everything you had, with little or much, and you just praised him because of who he was, because of who he is. And he's got those moments of intimacy between you and him saved in his heart. And he can open that up and fan it out and say, okay, we're just going to add this to your catalog. Your praise means everything to me. And he's going to restore you. I mean, it's like nothing ever happened. And I had that, and I didn't share all of that detail yesterday because, it was getting long and I didn't want to take too much time. But with you, I feel like I could share that in a little bit more detail. That not only is our praise all God wants, but all your praise throughout your life. Sometimes, your prayer, your coming to him humbly and just worshiping him in any way you know how. And worship isn't always about music or singing. Sometimes it's tithing is an act of worship, but sometimes it's just like praying and just asking God to be in your life and to bless whatever it is you have to do that day, and just say, God, today is yours, and I give it to you, and whatever happens is all about you, and I'm just going to love you through it, no matter what happens with my day. It's not based on the content or quality of my day. It's based on your presence in my life, and thank you for giving me another day of life. That is an act of worship. Just there's so many things that are just simply acts of worship, and God catalogs those and keeps them close to his heart and displays them on his refrigerator, so to speak, right? Because you are of such value to him that when you offer up even a scratched out non-masterpiece of work, that it means so much to him that it makes his heart just swell with love for you. And he displays and catalogs what your praise is, no matter what it looks like to anybody else. We get caught up in the spirit of comparison, where we're like, I'm not as good as that person over there, and so therefore I'm not as worthy. I'm not as whatever. And that's all nonsense. We got to get away from the spirit of comparison, because that's just our relationship with God is not determined by what happens on the horizontal, what happens in the vertical, okay, between us and God. And that's just an intimate moment. Say, God, this is all I have. I am empty of anything of any value. But that's where God can fill you up with everything that is of value, and that's himself. So that's my word of encouragement for you today. And I just pray that no matter where you are, that you just receive that. And maybe you're full. God is just blessing you to overflowing. And praise God if that is the case. But maybe you're feeling empty. Maybe you're just like at the end of yourself, and you feel like, you made a lot of bad decisions, and nobody could love you if they knew the truth, or nobody would welcome you if you decided to return to church. And that's exactly what the enemy wants you to think, because he wants to keep you on the outside looking in, feeling unworthy, feeling, unwelcome. And God says, no, just come to me as you are. Just give me what you have. And it's precious to me. And that's when I can fill you with the blessings that I've been holding on for you. I just want to fill you with those things. And that's a word of encouragement for today. So thank you for tuning in. And I just pray God's blessing over you today. Be encouraged, and in turn, be an encouragement to others. God bless. Have a great day. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.